I need to be completely straight with you right now. What I am about to share could legitimately save your family during the next major food crisis. And I am not talking about some theoretical disaster that might happen. I am talking about foods that are literally being phased out of production as we speak. Manufacturers are quietly discontinuing these items, and almost nobody in the prepping community has noticed. If you are serious about being prepared, hit that subscribe button right now because this information is not going to stay relevant forever. Once these foods are gone, they are gone for good. I have been tracking food industry trends for 7 years, and what I have discovered in the past 6 months is genuinely disturbing. Major food corporations are silently cutting product lines to save money, and the items they are eliminating happen to be some of the best long-term storage foods available. Number 8 on this list is already being pulled from shelves in 3 major retail chains, and I confirmed this directly with a warehouse manager 2 weeks ago. Number 3 has a shelf life of 25 years, costs less than $1 per pound, and the manufacturer just announced they are shutting down their only production facility in North America. Here is what makes this situation different from normal prepping advice. We are not talking about foods that might become scarce during a crisis. These are foods that will not exist at all in 12 to 18 months. And when they are gone, you will not be able to get them at any price. Back in 2019, I watched a specific brand of canned butter get discontinued. Preppers who ignored the warning are now paying triple the price for inferior alternatives on the secondary market, if they can even find it. Let me give you the full list, explain why each one matters, and tell you exactly how much to stockpile before it is too late. Food number 1 is canned evaporated milk. Okay, starting strong with something that is vanishing faster than most people realize. Canned evaporated milk. Not condensed milk, not regular milk, specifically evaporated milk. And here is why you need to pay attention. 3 of the 5 major brands that used to produce this have already discontinued their lines in the past 18 months. I confirmed this by calling customer service lines and talking to grocery store managers. The remaining 2 brands are consolidating production, which is corporate speak for we are phasing this out. Here is why this is a disaster for preppers. Evaporated milk has been a survival staple for over 100 years because it packs all the nutrition of regular milk into half the space and lasts for years on the shelf. One 12-ounce can equals 24 ounces of regular milk when you add water. But here is what makes it irreplaceable. Unlike powdered milk, evaporated milk tastes almost identical to fresh milk. I have done blind taste tests with my family and nobody could tell the difference when I used it in coffee or cooking. This matters more than you think. During stressful times, familiar tastes keep morale up. If your kids refuse to drink powdered milk but they will drink evaporated milk, you have just solved a major nutrition problem. The shelf life is incredible. Most cans are good for at least 2 years, but I have personally used cans that were 4 years past the printed date, and they were absolutely fine. Here is the real secret that old-timers know. You can make incredible comfort foods with evaporated milk. Mix it with pumpkin and spices for pie filling. Add it to coffee for that creamy coffeehouse taste. Use it to make creamy soups that actually feel like real food, not survival rations. I went to 4 different stores last week specifically to check stock levels. 2 stores had completely empty shelves where evaporated milk used to be. The other 2 had maybe 6 cans total. 5 years ago, those same shelves were fully stocked with dozens of cans. The writing is on the wall. I personally keep 100 cans in my stockpile. At current prices, that is about $60. But think about what you are getting. 100 opportunities to make survival food actually taste good. When everyone else is choking down reconstituted powder, your family is having real creamy hot chocolate. Here is my storage method. Keep the cans in their original packaging, but store them in a cool, dark place. Basements are perfect. Check them once a year and rotate through them in your regular cooking. Use the oldest ones first. Industry reports show evaporated milk production dropped 40% between 2020 and 2024. That is not a temporary dip. That is a category dying. Stock up now while you still can. Food number 2 is canned bacon. All right, number 2 is something that sounds too good to be true, but it is very real and it is disappearing fast. Canned bacon. Yes, fully cooked bacon in a can that lasts for a decade. I know what you are thinking. That sounds sketchy, but let me tell you about the first time I tried this. I was at a prepper expo 3 years ago, and a small company had samples of canned bacon. I was skeptical, but I tried it, and I was absolutely blown away. It tasted like real bacon because it is real bacon. Here is how it works. They fully cook the bacon, pack it in cans, and seal it. No refrigeration needed. The shelf life is 10 years minimum, and some brands claim up to 15 years. Think about what this means. In a long-term grid-down scenario, fresh meat is the first thing you lose. But with canned bacon, you have got protein, fat, and that smoky flavor that makes everything better. Now here is the bad news. The 2 main companies producing this have both announced production problems. One company is dealing with supply chain issues for their specific canning equipment. The other is struggling to source the quality of pork they need at prices that make sense. I talked to a distributor who told me flat out that canned bacon is going to become a specialty item at best, meaning limited availability at premium prices. I watched this same pattern with canned cheese about 6 years ago. It went from widely available to impossible to find in less than 2 years. I am seeing the exact same warning signs with canned bacon. Here is why you need this in your stockpile. Fat is critical for survival. Your body needs it for energy, warmth, and brain function. Most survival foods are dangerously low in fat. But bacon is almost 50% fat, giving you those critical calories you need. Plus, bacon fat can be saved and used for cooking everything else. 1 can of bacon grease will transform 20 meals. I keep 24 cans in my deep storage. Each can contains about 9 slices. That is over 200 slices of bacon that will still be good when my kids are in college. The cost is higher than regular bacon, about $8 per can. But divide that by 10 years of shelf life, and you are paying 80 cents a year for bacon. That is insane value. Use it to add flavor to beans, scramble it with powdered eggs, crumble it over rice, or eat it straight for morale when things get tough. The smell of bacon cooking is psychological warfare against depression. It makes your brain think everything is normal, and in a crisis, that mental reset is priceless. Do not wait on this one. I have been tracking online inventory and stock levels are dropping every month. When it is gone, you will be kicking yourself. Food number 3 is whole grain cereals in bulk bags. Number 3 is flying completely under the radar, but it is being systematically eliminated from production. Whole grain cereal in bulk institutional bags. Not the little boxes you buy at the grocery store. I am talking about the big 5-pound bags that schools and hospitals buy. These are being discontinued across multiple brands because the profit margins are too low. Corporations make way more money selling you tiny boxes at premium prices than selling bulk bags to institutions. But here is why this is a tragedy for preppers. These bulk bags of whole grain cereal give you shelf-stable carbs, fiber, vitamins, and minerals in a ready-to-eat form. No cooking required, no fuel needed. Just add milk or water and eat. In a bug-out scenario or a situation where cooking is not possible, this is absolutely critical. Let me give you a real example. Last year, we had a natural gas leak in our neighborhood. No cooking for 5 days while they fixed the lines. My family ate cereal for breakfast and dinner, and we were totally fine. No stress, no problem. Meanwhile, my neighbor, who is big into rice and beans, was trying to cook on a tiny camping stove and burning through fuel. The shelf life is better than you think. Whole grain cereals in sealed bags stay good for 12 to 18 months easily. And if you repackage them in Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers, you can push that to 3 or even 5 years. Here is what nobody tells you. Cereal is psychologically comforting, especially for kids. If your children are scared and stressed during an emergency, handing them a bowl of familiar cereal can calm them down instantly. That emotional stability is worth more than any tactical gear. I found a restaurant supply store that still carries these institutional bags. I bought 10 bags at $6 each. That is 50 pounds of ready-to-eat food for $60. Compare that to freeze-dried meals at $15 a pouch. But here is the urgent part. I called that same supplier 2 weeks ago to restock, and they told me their distributor is discontinuing the product line. Once their current inventory is gone, that is it. No more bulk cereal bags. I immediately drove over and bought 20 more bags. Here is the insider move. Check restaurant supply stores, school district surplus sales, and institutional food suppliers. These are the last places that still have inventory. When you find it, buy as much as you can reasonably store and afford. Storage is simple. Keep them in a cool, dry place. If you want to extend shelf life, transfer the cereal into Mylar bags. Add an oxygen absorber and seal it with a heat sealer. Label it with the date and you are good for years. The versatility is underrated too. You can eat it cold with milk, eat it dry as a snack, crush it up and use it as breading for other foods or mix it with peanut butter for homemade energy bars. And because it is whole grain, you are actually getting decent nutrition, not just empty calories. This is one of those situations where the window is closing fast. Do not assume it will be there next month. Food number 4 is canned tomato products in large cans. Number 4 is something you probably have not thought about, but it is disappearing right now. Large cans of tomato products, specifically the big 28-ounce and 106-ounce cans of crushed tomatoes, tomato sauce, and tomato paste. Food service sizes are being phased out for retail. I confirmed this with 2 different food distributors, but here is why this is a massive loss for preppers. Tomatoes are one of the most versatile base ingredients you can store. You can make pasta sauce, chili, soup, stew, salsa, and dozens of other meals, all starting with canned tomatoes. 1 large can of crushed tomatoes is the foundation for feeding 6 people. And tomatoes are loaded with lycopene, vitamin C, and potassium. The shelf life of canned tomatoes is legendary. The official date is usually 2 to 3 years, but I have used cans that were 7 years old, and they were perfect. The acidity in tomatoes actually acts as a natural preservative. I started buying large cans every time I saw them on sale. Last month I went to restock, and the restaurant supply store told me the distributor is discontinuing all large format tomato cans. They are switching to smaller cans only. Translation: you will pay more per ounce for less product. I immediately bought 50 large cans. It cost me about $80, but that is 50 bases for full meals that will last a decade. Here is the prepper math. One large can of crushed tomatoes costs about 1.60. You can turn that into a pot of chili that feeds 6 people. Add rice, beans, and some spices, and you have got a legitimate meal for less than $3 total. Compare that to freeze-dried chili at $12 per pouch that feeds 2 people. And here is a pro move. Buy variety. Get crushed tomatoes, tomato sauce, and tomato paste. Each serves a different purpose. If you can still find large cans in your area, buy them now. Food number 5 is canned fruit in heavy syrup. Number 5 is going to be controversial because health-conscious preppers hate this, but I do not care. Canned fruit in heavy syrup. Not the light syrup stuff. Specifically heavy syrup. And here is why I am doubling down on this even though it is being phased out. Heavy syrup canned fruit is being discontinued across multiple brands because of sugar concerns. But from a prepping perspective, this is a disaster. Here is what nobody wants to admit. In a true survival scenario, sugar is not your enemy. Sugar is concentrated energy. Your body runs on glucose, and heavy syrup is glucose in its most shelf-stable form. Let me tell you about a winter camping trip that taught me this lesson hard. We were 4 days into a cold weather survival exercise, and everyone was exhausted. We had been eating plain rice, beans, and dried meat. Energy levels were tanking. Then someone pulled out a can of peaches in heavy syrup. We split that one can between 4 people, and within 20 minutes everyone felt recharged. That is the power of fast-acting carbohydrates when your body is under stress. The shelf life is incredible. Canned fruit and heavy syrup last 4 to 5 years officially, but I have got cans in my stockpile that are 8 years old, and they are still perfect. The syrup acts as a preservative. In a long-term grid-down scenario, you are going to be burning way more calories than normal. Physical labor, stress, and temperature regulation all spike your caloric needs. That sugar will get used, not stored as fat. I keep 40 cans of various fruits in heavy syrup. Peaches, pears, fruit cocktail, pineapple. It cost me about $60 total. During a crisis when everyone is eating bland survival food, pulling out a can of sweet peaches feels like Christmas morning. The psychological boost is real. Here is the tactical advantage nobody talks about. Canned fruit in heavy syrup is a tradable commodity. If you need to barter with neighbors, a can of peaches is worth way more than rice or beans because it is a luxury item. Stock up now before this category disappears completely. Food number 6 is crackers in bulk tins. Number 6 is one of the smartest preps you can make, and it is being quietly discontinued. Bulk crackers in large tins. Not the little boxes from the grocery store. I am talking about the big 3-pound tins that you used to find at warehouse clubs. These are being eliminated because the packaging costs are high and consumer demand has shifted to smaller snack packs. But for preppers, this is a tragedy. The tin itself creates an airtight seal that keeps crackers fresh for years. I've opened tins that were 3 years old and the crackers were still crispy and perfect. Crackers are one of the most versatile survival foods. You can eat them plain, use them as a bread substitute, crush them for breading, or pair them with literally any other food. Peanut butter and crackers, cheese and crackers, soup and crackers, tuna and crackers. The combinations are endless. During a week-long power outage, we could not make bread because our oven was electric. But we had crackers. We used them for every meal. My family never once complained about being hungry. The calorie density is solid, too. A 3-pound tin contains about 6,000 calories. That is 3 days of survival rations in one container. Now here is the bad news. I have been tracking availability for 8 months, and stock is disappearing. The major brand that made these tins announced they are discontinuing the format. I went to 3 warehouse clubs last month, and only one still had them in stock. I bought 8 tins on the spot. At $12 per tin, that is $96 for 24 pounds of crackers that will stay fresh for years. The psychology of having crackers is underrated. They feel like normal food. If you serve your family soup and crackers during a crisis, it feels like a regular meal. But if you serve just plain boiled rice, it feels like survival mode. That mental distinction affects stress levels. Check your local stores now. Food number 7 is canned chili with meat. Number 7 is a prepper favorite that is about to become a lot harder to find. Canned chili with meat in large cans, specifically the 24-ounce and larger sizes. Smaller cans are staying in production, but the big cans are being cut. I got this confirmed directly from a store manager who showed me the distributor notice. But here is why big cans of chili are essential. Chili is a complete meal in a can. You have got protein from the meat, carbs from the beans, fat from the beef, and fiber to keep your digestive system working. In a survival situation, you can eat it cold straight from the can or heat it up for comfort. One large can feeds 3 to 4 people, and it is psychologically powerful. Chili feels like real food, not rations. During a winter storm 2 years ago, we lost power for 5 days. Temperatures dropped below freezing. I heated up cans of chili on a small camping stove, and my family was genuinely happy. Nobody complained. Nobody panicked. Because we were eating familiar, hearty food that filled us up and kept us warm. The shelf life of canned chili is excellent. Official date is 2 to 4 years, but I have used cans that were 6 years old without any issues. I currently have 30 large cans in my stockpile. It cost me about $90. That is 30 full meals for my family that require zero prep and almost no fuel to heat. Compare that to freeze-dried camping meals at $12 each. Here is the tactical use. Canned chili is also great for feeding large groups. If neighbors show up needing help during a crisis, you can feed 6 people with 2 cans of chili and some crackers. And here is a recipe extender that multiplies your supply. Cook rice, then pour chili over it. 1 can of chili that normally feeds 3 people now feeds 6 because the rice adds bulk. If you can still find large cans, stock up immediately. Food number 8 is instant mashed potato flakes in large boxes. Number 8 is one of the most underrated prep foods, and it is being phased out in large formats. Instant mashed potato flakes in bulk boxes, not the little pouches, the big 5-pound boxes that used to be everywhere. These are disappearing because manufacturers are pushing single-serve pouches at higher profit margins. But for preppers, this is a huge loss. Here is why instant mashed potato flakes are a survival powerhouse. They are pure carbohydrates. They require minimal water to reconstitute. They need no cooking if you have hot water, and they store for decades if you repackage them properly. One 5-pound box makes about 40 servings. That is 40 meals for less than $8. But here is what makes this really next level. Potato flakes are not just for mashed potatoes. You can use them to thicken soups and stews, add them to bread dough for moisture, mix them into meatballs as a binder, or make potato pancakes with just water and salt. The versatility is insane. Here is the storage secret. Instant potato flakes in the original box last about 12 months, but if you transfer them into Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers, they last 20 to 30 years. I have talked to preppers who opened bags that were 15 years old and the flakes were still perfect. I personally have 30 pounds of potato flakes vacuum sealed in Mylar bags. That is 240 servings of potatoes that will outlast most of my other preps. Total cost was about $50. Now here is the urgent part. I went to restock last month and 3 different stores no longer carry the large boxes. They only have the expensive single-serve pouches now. I called the manufacturer and they confirmed the bulk boxes are being discontinued. Find them while you can. Restaurant supply stores and discount grocery outlets are your best bet right now. Potatoes are actually one of the most complete foods. You can survive on potatoes and butter alone for months and get almost every nutrient your body needs. And here is a morale recipe. Make mashed potatoes, add a can of corn, mix in some canned chicken, and you have got a shepherd's pie-style meal that tastes like comfort food. Stock up now. Food number 9 is canned corned beef. Number 9 is old-school survival food that is becoming nearly impossible to find. Canned corned beef. Not Spam, not canned chicken. Specifically, corned beef. This is being discontinued by multiple brands due to rising beef costs and changing consumer preferences. But for preppers, this is a disaster. Here is why canned corned beef is irreplaceable. It is real beef, fully cooked, packed with protein and fat, and it lasts for years on the shelf. One 12-ounce can contains about 600 calories and 40 grams of protein. That is serious nutrition. The flavor is salty and rich, which means a little bit goes a long way. You can stretch one can into multiple meals by mixing it with rice, potatoes, or vegetables, and unlike fresh meat, you do not need refrigeration at all. My grandfather was in the military and he told me stories about surviving on canned corned beef during field deployments. It kept him and his unit fed and strong when supply lines were unreliable. I started stocking canned corned beef years ago. Last year, I went to restock and half the brands I used to buy were gone. Completely discontinued. The remaining brands have jacked up prices because supply is shrinking. I now keep 40 cans in my stockpile. At an average of $5 per can, that is $200. But think about what you are getting. 40 high-protein, high-fat meals that will last a decade and require zero cooking. Here is my favorite recipe. Open a can of corned beef, break it up with a fork, fry it in a pan until it is crispy, and serve it with fried potatoes. It is called corned beef hash, and it is legitimately delicious. My kids request this meal regularly, which means my stockpile stays rotated and nothing expires. The psychology of meat is powerful. Humans are wired to crave protein and fat. If you are eating mostly rice and beans, adding canned corned beef once a week gives you that mental boost that keeps morale high. If you can still find it, buy it now. Food number 10 is canned vegetables in large cans. Number 10 is basic but critical, and it is disappearing. Large cans of vegetables, specifically the 29-ounce and larger sizes of green beans, corn, peas, and carrots. These institutional sizes are being discontinued across multiple brands. I have confirmed this with 3 different grocery chains, but for preppers, this is a huge problem. Here is why large cans of vegetables matter. Vegetables provide vitamins, minerals, and fiber that keep your body functioning during long-term storage food consumption. Without vegetables, you will develop nutrient deficiencies within weeks. Scurvy, digestive problems, and weakened immune systems are all real risks if you are only eating carbs and protein. 1 large can of vegetables contains multiple servings, which means fewer cans to store overall. And vegetables are cheap. A 29-ounce can of green beans costs about $1.20. That is 3 to 4 servings for about 30 cents each. During a prolonged crisis, fresh vegetables disappear within days. Canned vegetables become the only way to get plant-based nutrition. If you do not have them stockpiled, you are setting yourself up for serious health problems. The shelf life is solid. Most canned vegetables last 3 to 5 years officially, but I have used cans that were 8 years old with no problems. I keep 60 large cans of mixed vegetables in my basement. Green beans, corn, peas, carrots, and mixed vegetables. Total cost was about $75. That is 60 servings of vegetables that will keep my family healthy during extended emergencies. And here is a nutrition tip. Mix different vegetables together to get a wider range of nutrients. Green beans for fiber, corn for carbs, peas for protein, and carrots for vitamin A. 1 meal with all 4 covers most of your micronutrient needs. The psychology of eating vegetables during a crisis matters too. It makes meals feel normal and complete. Rice and beans with a side of green beans feels like dinner. Rice and beans alone feels like poverty food. If you can still find large cans of vegetables, stock up now. Without vegetables, your survival plan has a massive hole in it. Food number 11 is dry soup mix in bulk bags. Number 11 is one of the quietest disappearances I have ever tracked, and almost nobody is talking about it. Dry soup mix in bulk bags, not instant cup soups, not fancy freeze-dried meals. I am talking about the plain, institutional-grade soup mixes that come in 5 to 10-pound bags, the kind used by cafeterias, shelters, and disaster relief kitchens. These are being phased out right now, and once they are gone, they are not coming back. Here is why this matters. Dry soup mix is one of the most efficient survival foods ever created. It combines carbohydrates, dehydrated vegetables, protein sources like lentils or peas, salt, and seasoning in a single product. All you add is water and heat. That is it. No complex recipes, no multiple ingredients. 1 bag can produce 40 to 60 servings of hot, filling food. And unlike rice and beans, soup is easy to digest when people are stressed, sick, cold, or exhausted. I confirmed this directly with a food service supplier who told me these bulk soup mixes are being discontinued because home consumers don't buy them. Translation: they don't make enough profit compared to single-serve packets. So manufacturers are killing the bulk lines entirely. Once current warehouse stock is gone, production stops. The shelf life is outstanding. In original sealed bags, most dry soup mixes last 2 to 3 years. Repackaged into Mylar with oxygen absorbers, you are looking at 15 to 20 years easily. I personally store mine in 5-gallon buckets with gamma lids. 1 bucket can feed a family for weeks. Here is the real advantage nobody talks about. Soup stretches everything. Add rice to soup, you double the calories. Add crackers, you turn it into a meal. Add canned meat, and you suddenly have a morale-boosting, hearty dinner. In a crisis, soup turns scraps into sustenance. I keep 4 bulk bags, roughly 200 servings total, and it cost me under $70. That is absurd value for hot food security. If you see bulk dry soup mix anywhere, do not hesitate. Buy it. This is one of those foods that disappears quietly and is only missed when it is already too late. This is not fear-based prepping. This is timing-based prepping. These foods are not maybe disappearing. They are being actively removed from production right now. And history is very clear about what happens next. Prices spike, quality drops, and availability goes to zero. You do not need to panic. You just need to act before the window closes. Start with one item, then another. Build slowly, intentionally, and smart. If you found this useful, subscribe now, because the next list I am working on covers household essentials that are already gone in parts of the country. Prepared beats lucky every single time.